Okay. Yeah. Lady Wolf Pack on a whole nother level. Savage as they come, gang of female rebel. Got the sharpest claws, we got the whitest teeth. We coming for your lunch, but we only bring the heat.
Hey y'all, I'm Cassidy, the favorite daughter, obviously.
And I'm Kim, her mom, her match, and the real reason she turned out halfway decent.
Welcome to Mom's Favorite, the podcast where we laugh, vent, and overshare like it's our full-time job.
Yeah. And we're coming straight to you from Austin, Texas, where the queso's hot, the opinions are hotter, and we don't sugarcoat a damn thing.
You know, just think of us as Thelma and Louise, but only they're related and they have a podcast instead of a death wish.
So go ahead and pour yourself something strong, maybe a margarita, get a little snack.
Because here on Mom's Favorite, we got a lot to unpack.
Hello, friends. It's Kim here, doing a solo run today. And finally, I have the man, the myth, and the legend with me, Egon-omics. I'm excited to finally get to sit down and we're going to deep dive into all of the gory details of everything, how we met, how we came about, our life together. Nothing's off the table. What do you think about that, honey?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me finally.
Finally. Really, that's because you're never here. I can never pin you down to do it. So it's not like I didn't, have you on the list and want you to do it.
That's true. That's true. I'm glad to be here.
Be here in your own old office. Formerly known as your office.
Formerly known as. I know you've commandeered over half of it.
Yep. I'm working on the other half, figuring out how that's all going to work.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
So anyway, let's kind of talk about kind of how we met and how things got started between me and you. So how did we meet? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I remember it quite well, like it was yesterday. I remember I had just gone through my divorce and I was doing some dating and stuff at the time, but was doing some online back when it really wasn't a thing, and had gone on a few dates and stuff, nothing serious. And then you and I started communicating on an application that we were both on. Like, it was Match. And we had some exchanges, but nothing really became of it. But I did have your personal email. And then we kind of got off it around the same time. I kind of got disenchanted. A lot of people were representing themselves. They weren't really what they were saying they were, or because there were a lot of people who didn't have pictures. A lot of women didn't want to put their pictures on at the time.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't want to be viewed as based on their looks, solely on their looks and everything. So I said, I can respect that. So I went out with some people who said, and then they had a kind of rated how you look-wise, how you were. And some of them put they were like exceptionally good looking. And then they were really like below average, like so on they put themselves as like 12s and they're like,
I kind of remember,
like
I kind of vaguely remember the question of what would you rate your looks department? And they had like, movie star material, or then they had like put a bag over your head. I mean,
true.
And I think that I always downgraded a little bit. Like, I never put myself up in the higher group of like the better looking people. I just I would put like average, averagely attractive maybe, right, or something like that, because I would never want to come across as someone who was like, oh yeah, she thinks she's so beautiful.
Right. And so then we both kind of got off at around the same time, but I had your email and then I emailed you and then didn't really hear anything back, and I think it was like a Yahoo account back at the time.
Was I ghosting you?
Well, I don't know. You just did say it was kind of a busy time of your life, and then I kind of got off, but then all of a sudden, like 2 months later, you email me, and then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember her. And at that point, I still didn't see your picture.
We hadn't even talked on the phone at that point.
No, because at that point, I just had your email address and that was it. And then we communicated back and forth. And then we did have a couple of phone calls. And we said, hey, you want to get together for lunch? And then we met at On the Border back at the time over by the Arboretum, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we had lunch there. And I just remember the first thing I remember was your legs. I was just like, I was just like, damn, she's got some nice legs.
Well, I think I was coming from, we were meeting like at lunch from like work. So we were probably dressed up, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't really remember what I remember thinking that you were handsome. You were handsome, and I thought you were very well spoken and smart, but you weren't like overly trying to like sell yourself, which is like a huge red flag for me. Like when I was dating, I would be like, if they're over there listing all their accomplishments and, you know, just all into themselves, that's like a no for me. And so you really weren't like that. You were quiet, but you know, you were engaging, but not like a love bomber. You know? like I mean, I literally went out with some people that literally you go out on like 1 or 2 dates with them, and they're already talking about when we get married.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, that was the furthest thing from my mind at that point.
Yeah. And one time I went out with this guy that he actually happened to be married to someone named Kim before me.
Good Lord.
And so he still had his monogram towels from when he was married. And he said, hey, when we get married, we won't even have to get new towels.
I think that was a joke.
No.
I think that was a joke.
So, but anyway, so yeah. And I'm trying to remember, once we had that first lunch date, then what happened? Did we like just say, hey, what was our first date after that? Was that your office happy hour?
I don't think it was that. I think we went to, remember the Alligator Grill, I think was our second date. And we went there and, yeah. And then we really hit it. I think 1 or 2 dates later, probably the next date after that was my office one, the office happy hour.
Yeah, I do remember the Alligator Grill, and that was such a good place too. Remember the tequila lime shrimp? Oh my God!
Oh, and they had
so
the
good
quarter oysters for 25 cents and the $2 Shiner box.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I remember used to taking my dad there.
So yeah, I remember that, and I remember that like that's where you first kissed me in the parking lot. You were just like, "Could I give you a goodnight kiss?" And I'm like,
"That's right, I asked."
Of course.
It just avoids that awkwardness of
going in,
and you're like getting that pushback, and you're like,
yeah. I think that's the first time anyone really ever asked me. So I thought that was kind of cute. I thought it was very gentlemanly like. And then we went out. Then we went to, that must have been like when we went to your work. Because I think your little work happy hour thing was pretty early.
Yeah, it was like right after work out at like 5. And then I think it was just maybe an hour. And then we went off to that little hideaway library / coffee place.
The library.
That was like kind of off of Red River in like, I don't know, probably 7th or something like that. And it was just a little cubby thing, and we just hung out. And
yeah, it was a really cute place.
Yeah,
it was very cute. And I remember we were making out in the car in the parking lot, and I was like, because you had a smoking body, and I was like, oh, I'm so doing him this weekend. I'd already decided.
After that
night, I was like, yeah,
for me, lucky me.
And so, so what did you like think about me? Like, what were your thoughts about me besides she has great legs? I mean, you know. What
Well,
was your impression?
I really liked you, and I thought, you know, and you know, you had Cassidy and everything, and you had been a single mom already at that point for quite a while, so you'd been around the dating pool a bit. So, you know, I was just trying to get to know you at that point, you know, get to know you better and stuff. I thought very highly of you.
Because you did date someone else before me that was, remember, that stole your lawnmower?
Oh, that's right.
Remember that?
I saw her at the Home Depot one time, and I tried to, hey, where's my, and she ran around the corner, and then I never.
She was hiding because she didn't want to have to give up that lawnmower
That was self-driving.
that you bought her. So, yeah. And so we went on a few dates. I remember when we did go to your office party, I remember how, I don't know, I really liked the people that you worked with. They were real, like, I don't know, just kind of cool, eclectic kind of people. I was like, these people are really fun. And I liked the way that they really interacted with you and how they just really liked you. And I thought, man, they really like him. And so then I think we did spend the weekend together.
Mm-hmm. We did.
And then, which was one of the bonuses of being a single mom, is you have this every other weekend of freedom. So I could come over and hang out in your, and for anyone who may be questioning, because I've been told this, that I just married Egon for his millions. And I just want you to know that he didn't have any millions. He didn't have any money. He lived in a regular little apartment and drove a little car with no air. And we went on dates at the Whole Foods free sample.
Okay. It wasn't that bad.
No, just kidding. That last part, yeah. But
I remember one of our dates was pretty early on. We went to the hot sauce festival, and it was like over 100 degrees.
I know.
And going to a hot sauce festival, and we're sitting under the misting machines, and I'm getting like little cups of beer and stuff, and we're like not even really into the hot sauce because it was so hot out. And I think,
well, it was like August.
Yeah, I mean, it was. We lasted like maybe an hour.
And I remember when you're like, "Hey, you want to go to this hot sauce festival?" And I was thinking in my mind, "Oh, hell no, that sounds horrible." But you know, early on, you want to act like you're just a go along kind of gal. So we went, but I, of course, didn't want to come across as being like someone who couldn't go along and someone who was complaining all the time. So I just was like sweating. So it was so flippin' hot. But yet I didn't say a word about it. And I think finally you said, "It's really hot, huh?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. It's not really that bad."
You're lying.
Meanwhile, we're melting. And so anyway, but yeah, that was fun.
I think I got the air in my car fixed at that point.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, I mean, we were from, both of us, we were both from very humble means. I didn't have any money, you didn't have any money, and we were just kind of making it. And then I met your mom, and let's see how that goes. So she was bringing you your car, remember that?
That's right.
So she wanted Egon to marry a rich and successful woman, and unfortunately, he got me. But he got an inheritance, right? It was from an inheritance.
She got an inheritance.
From her dad, from her father? From
her father, correct. And then she gave some money to Jim, and she said, hey, and then she had somebody call her up, a friend whose son worked at a BMW dealership in Palm Beach, Florida, and then said, hey, we had this car. It's only like a month. Somebody bought it like a month later and said it was too small for them, and they brought it back and got him a new car. And so they were discounting it like 10 grand or something like that. They took a beating on it. Not the dealer did, but they said, we're selling it for like 10,000 off. You know anybody? So she just called my mom, and she's like, yeah, my son really needs a new car, and his air wasn't working and all of that.
So his sweet mother uses her inheritance
She did.
on her boys, and she buys Egon's part was this car, and she not only bought it for him, she drove it from Florida to Texas to deliver it to him, which I thought was just so sweet. So she came, and I remember the first time I believe I met Emily at the same time.
Yep.
Your daughter. And I just remember, and Cass was with us. So it's like
that's
the
correct.
whole meeting of this was pretty early on, and we're already meeting with the family. So
That's right.
and then I remember Cassidy whispering over in my ear and going, "What's wrong with her face?" And I'm like, "Shh." Well, I guess she had just had some kind of like procedure, like Fraxel or microderm or something, where it makes your face kind of red and kind of like on fire, whatever. And it was kind of, your mom was the most beautiful and vain woman. I mean, she took really good care of herself. So she was always doing little procedures. And so she must have just pretty much recently had a little procedure done. But anyway, so we got there, and you guys had already been there for a while.
It was hot.
And it was hot. And so by the time we got there, which was pretty close to when we were supposed to be there, but by then she wanted to leave because it was just really hot. And so anyway, we didn't get a really good first introduction, I don't think. Because I kind of suggested, well, you could take the car and then I could bring them. And I don't know. She just kind of didn't like me taking her son. And when she just drove that car down from Florida to think that she would be able to drive it all the way back to your apartment. But anyway, so yeah, it was kind of a weird little, it was a weird introduction.
That's right.
Were you uncomfortable?
Was I uncomfortable at that time, you mean?
And what was your mom saying what was she saying?
I don't think she said a whole lot.
Mad.
She was mad at the end. She's like, I came all this way, and and then she was pretty mad about, I said, well, I could tuck you in a cab if you don't feel comfortable driving, and she didn't like that. She didn't like that either. But we shouldn't have got there an hour and a half early or whatever it was,
right? Because
then, but she's like, I'm ready to go. I've had enough, and it was kind of like, God, they just got here 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why we ended up there so early. I have no idea.
Yeah. She was kind of a hard person to impress anyway. And I was just like this Texas gal. And what did she say? The only thing you liked about me was I had big boobs or something. I don't know.
I don't recall her saying.
She did say that because you told me afterwards. You said, my mom said the only thing I like, you like is she's got boobs.
Otis.
So that was a little bit of a weird thing. But I think your mom and I really, we were okay. We were okay. I mean, I never got the feeling that she didn't like me or didn't, wasn't supportive of us. And she just had her ways. And I think she had it in her mind that she was going to bring you this nice car and you were going to meet yourself a doctor or something. And speaking of doctors, Egon's first wife was a doctor. So I think maybe that was where that came from, that she figured, well, he was already married to a rich and successful doctor. So maybe that's kind of somebody he should.
Rich.
I'm being a little facetious here.
Rich with a lot of student loans.
I'm being. Who
didn't want to pay him back.
But so tell us about your first marriage.
Well, essentially, yeah. So we ended up in really going back to how I ended up in Texas to begin with was I had worked for a publisher in Connecticut as a consultant, and they brought me in because they were doing a lot of merger and acquisition work. And so I kind of came in to kind of help them with some of those new acquisitions. And one of those happened to be in Texas, that's how I ended up in Austin. But what happened at the time, because she did a program, my ex did a program in the military, she had to give them 2 years of service. So 2 years was, actually it was 4 years, but 2 years was satisfied through her residency. So she got a salary and benefits and all that. Plus she was able to get her residence salary at the time. It's supposed to go against the student loans, which never happened.
Yeah.
But then we had to give her 2 years. So we were trying to find a base. And so we were trying to get down in Florida originally, and there was a couple options there, but then there was an opportunity that came up in Texas and the job, and I almost wasn't really going to take it because I didn't know where we were going to land. We were looking at Panama City, and then there was Tampa Bay. There was another one there too, and so we're kind of looking at that area. And then there was one south of Miami, but I think they shut that down, or we're in the process of shutting that one down. But and then we were looking up further up north by Daytona, where Cape Canaveral is up that way and stuff. So there was another base there. But anyway, so this opportunity came up, but she ended up in Del Rio. And so, yeah, and she was pregnant. And so they put her
paradise.
They put her down in Del Rio. And
you want Panama City or Del?
So anyway, so we spent time. We moved in 2 years. We moved 9 times with the military.
Oh my God.
Like 9 times, because it moved from Cedar Park, and then it went to Del Rio. We moved 3 times in Del Rio. Maybe it wasn't 9, but it was probably more like 7. And then it was 3 times in Del Rio, and then it was another 2 times in San Antonio, because they moved her a couple bases, because we ended up in San Antonio because Emily, remember, she had that birth-related injury and everything. And so
she was working down in Del Rio, and you were working in Austin.
And I was coming down on weekends once the baby was born and all of that.
And so give just a little thumbnail about what happened with the baby. So she was pregnant, and so you guys did in vitro.
We did
in vitro. You guys did in vitro.
That's right.
Because, obviously you couldn't have children. No, obviously.
Yeah,
obviously she could not have children. And so, or whatever, was having some issues. And so you did in vitro, and then, but you did it through the military, so it was probably paid for, right?
Well, the in vitro wasn't through the military. We did that previously through Yale.
So, how did that work? Did you have to, go in? You have to go in with, a magazine? Here you go. Or they give you, a porn?
Pretty much. Yeah, back then they had a video or magazines. Yeah.
I mean, I've never made babies except for the natural way. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, okay. So she went into labor, and she tells you, hey, I'm about to have the baby. You need to get down here. And so you're driving down to Del Rio.
Well, yes. So she went into labor, and then it's like her mom had called and said, hey, you better get down here. So
because her mom was living with her.
Yeah. And yes, her mom was staying with her towards the end of the pregnancy there.
Okay.
And it was probably about a month before Emily was due. And so she comes down and stays. And so anyway, I don't know why, but the doctor gave her Pitocin because he didn't want to deliver in the middle of the night. He really had a great bedside manner. So anyway, she's like, call me up again. She goes, oh, you don't have to rush. It's going to be a while. We're just getting ready to go down to the hospital in probably a couple of hours. And so anyway, and it's it's a 4-hour drive. And so anyway, all of a sudden, an hour later, she gives me a call, and she's like, you better get down here. They're going to give her Pitocin, and it's probably going to move things along. And I ended up missing the birth by 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Because they had trouble. They had trouble getting her out, right? So they had to use a vacuum.
I don't know if they had trouble, but they used
a vacuum.
Forceps. That's why.
No, they used a vacuum extraction.
That's right.
Yeah, they used a vacuum extraction, and
they tried the forceps, which didn't work.
Which is what
caused the brain injury. Yeah.
So.
Or the baby is subdural baby.
But you didn't know. You didn't know about this.
We didn't know about the
subdural. Had the baby, and she was probably hopping mad you didn't make it in time.
Oh yeah.
And she'll never forgive you as long as you live. And so then you guys had Emily, and then Emily started having some problems. So what happened with Emily?
So yeah, Emily started having some, well, it just kind of looked like abnormal like head growth, and I was on one side of the head, and she almost looked like she had Downs. And so we went and got her tested in the local hospital in Del Rio, and they did a CT scan, and then all of a sudden she started having seizures. And they had done a couple of scans, but so nobody really detected the subdural at that point. And so anyway, we ended up going to San Antonio because that's a better hospital and they have a better pediatric department there. At the military had a better pediatric department. And so they had some specialists and things like that. And so anyway, we go there and a pediatric neurologist saw her and actually did some testing there and goes, this is weird. So somehow something got misread down in Del Rio or either on the base hospital about the growth of her head. Her size was abnormal for how fast it was growing, and he thought something was up. So then he did an MRI, and that's where they saw the brain bleed and stuff. And so then they made arrangements. So then there was
But initially they thought that they even like questioned you.
Oh, well, yeah, they
thought maybe they dropped the baby.
Well, because they're saying some of the blood was like old versus new, some was new and newer or whatever. And so, I mean, you don't know what to make of that. Because it's hard to tell with an MRI, technical, until you tap it, you don't know if it's old or new or whatever, really. They're just going based off the tests, right? And it's black and white in a lot of cases. So anyway, they, of course, got CPS involved and things. We were both interviewed. She was interviewed in the hospital at the time. And so anyway, then they did a surgery where they actually went in and they took all the blood, removed the blood, but they didn't have to open up her head. They somehow went in with a syringe or something.
So they figured out that this brain bleed and all these problems that your baby was having was caused from that vacuum extraction birth that doctor did. It
Correct.
Basically caused the brain bleed, and they didn't know that it was there and whatever. And so then what happened?
So then they did the surgery, and then her.
No, but I mean, then you guys wound up suing. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you had to do it within 2 years. We didn't know what was going to happen with her long term. And she could not sue the military because she's in the military. You can't do that. You can't sue the military.
Your ex-wife
because it happened to my daughter on that because she was born on a military hospital. I have the right to sue,
I see.
As the parent of the daughter looking out for her best interests. So at that time then, yeah. And it was kind of weird how that whole thing settled because the lawyer representing the federal government, the military, happened to go to law school with the fella I hired, and they settled the whole thing over lunch.
Okay.
Without even going to court or meeting outside of going in front of a judge like one time to say we've reached a settlement.
Right.
They didn't go through depositions. They didn't go through any of that. So it's actually.
So then you settled, and you had the wherewithal and the smarts to take this money that you guys got, the settlement, and put it aside for Emily.
Well, no, the whole thing was already because. The thing was about Emily's future, probably outside of the lawyer fees, there was very little money.
They had to go in some kind of trust.
It went into an annuity
okay.
that was going to kick in once she was 18 years of age. And so they gave us a little bit of money for our anguish, but it was nominal. I mean, you could maybe have bought a used car with it.
Yeah.
Because it went to the lawyer a little bit for us, and then the majority of the money went into an annuity, which kicked in when she was 18. Plus, it provided money for school too every year, and then she would get a check for life, basically.
Yeah. That's really smart. That's good. I hope she's living that. And, that's something not everybody has in their life. And to be able to have that safety net.
That's a nice fallback for sure.
So do you think that having, then she was a doctor, and so she was starting up a practice. And do you think that just the stressors, what happened? What happened to y'all, you and her?
What
would you say was the demise? I mean, really, honestly.
You don't want my real answer.
No, I do. I want your real answer.
She was a raging bitch.
But I am too. So aren't we all kind of?
I wouldn't say you're a raging bitch.
I'm kidding. I hope.
You love hard.
I can be, but yeah.
You love hard. You're enough. She was very self-centered. She was about, she had this thing of, I'm a doctor, I deserve it kind of attitude. And so she, even if she didn't have it, she would just borrow, and she just kept building up debt and more debt and revolving credit, and didn't care about any of that. And so that kind of, on top of that, and then just, her attitude and stuff she would say, it's just kind of having.
Well, and another thing is the two of you, it seemed like you guys were apart quite a bit too, because with her being down there and you being here.
Well, yeah, but even after that, I mean, that went on only for a year and a half, and then we ended up in San Antonio when we were together. So really the Del Rio thing was, actually that was like maybe a year. And so then we ended up being in San Antonio, but I put like 140,000 miles on my car in like 2.5 years, something like that.
Crazy.
It was crazy. And then we ended up in San Marcos after she got out of the military. We ended up in San Marcos, and she started her practice and everything. And
so I guess it just got to a point where she just had enough, and she just said, I want a divorce. And I do remember you telling me that you had a very long divorce process, that she didn't make it.
Oh yeah, because I was paying her health insurance, and my lawyer at the time said, oh, hey, don't cut anything off. It can get ugly, and just keep paying. And I was, back then, the out-of-pocket I was paying out of my check every month was like $300. And for me, that was a lot of money back then. So like, plus I was paying child support, and then she's the one who filed the paperwork. And then so we would just say yes or no or whatever and go back, and then 4 months would go by. And then it wasn't really till she started seeing somebody that then all of a sudden she was in a hurry to get the paper signed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you and I met. I know you used to joke to me and go, God, your ink's barely dry, right? Because I had gotten, I had signed in like February, and you and I met in like the summer or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but I had already been dating because I'd been separated for like 2.5 years, even though we didn't have anything to fight over. Yeah, we hadn't amassed anything at that point. Didn't own a house. The only thing we had was this land that we were maybe going to build on, and so we had bought an acre of land and stuff, and we're making payments on that. And then I had to go bug her to make her payment because they'd be complaining half of it was late. Yeah, constantly and stuff. But anyway,
yeah, and I'm sure you guys had things to work out, like even like she had a medical practice, so technically you could be entitled to some of that maybe, or you had this amount, just splitting everything.
Oh, she would try to say, well, I'm going to take everything you got, which I didn't really have a lot. So it's like, okay. And then, because she was trying to get her practice and not have me be any part of that. Mm-hmm. I built that up over the last 3 years and and I was like, I don't really care. I want to be done. Yeah. And so I was ready to move on at that point. So she was pretty happy about that part then, that I wasn't going after a practice. So yeah, it's just kind of like, you have your debt and stuff. I didn't take on any of her debt or any of that part. So, which she had quite a bit of it. So it's kind of like, yeah, you take your debt, you have the practice. And
so can you be responsible for someone else's student loans if they had them before you were married?
Not student loans or debt. The debt is only based on what you've accumulated during the marriage. Okay. That you would be responsible for half of it.
Yeah, I do remember I had a little small student loan too when we met.
You did? Yeah. You were borrowing to go to school, and then, yes, I did pay that off.
You did pay that off, yes.
I know.
So,
it wasn't.
So I remember like when I first met you, and Emily, and one of the things that I really did love about you is you had a daughter and you were a good dad. It's, I liked the relationship you had with her, and but I noticed pretty quickly how raging crazy your ex-wife was. I mean, she had so much rage for you, and I don't really know why, except that usually means someone's hurt. They've got hurt feelings or whatever. But I mean, I had an ex-husband too, and I mean, I didn't care much for him, but I certainly didn't rage hate him, and I didn't, try to make his life a living hell. Like she literally, I mean, honestly, you and I almost did not even get married because of that, because I was scared to get involved with the things that she was doing and how she just seemed really unhinged, and also not only that, it's like every weekend when it would be your turn to get Emily, it's just the drama all associated around all of it was so stressful that I was like, this, I don't know. I mean, I was single for a long 10 years. Do I really want to sign on for this? I mean, really?
Well, and at that point, I think you were pregnant with Jake, right?
Yes. So, but I mean, obviously we had a kid together, but I mean, we were having a kid together, but then it was like, oh, I don't know, because I mean, she was just, I was really, honestly, you want to know something? I was honestly kind of scared, because that whole thing where she called CPS on us and reported both of us. I think Egon was like being abusive to his children. And then I was like complicit in it or allowing it to happen or whatever. And they went and pulled Jake out of school. Remember, they went to his PPCD class, and I was like, they pulled him out and like were like looking him over for marks, and I was like, this is not my life. I'm not a CPS kind of person, and I felt like she could make up anything about us. And it really scared me. I was afraid that she would say, like, I don't know, you molested your daughter, or because I think she would have said anything at all to harm you. Why was she so angry at you?
I have no idea.
Did you cheat on her?
No.
No, I mean, I know you didn't. And I know you didn't. You're not a cheating kind of guy, but yeah, I just think that she just had a whole lot.
She had a victim mentality, but of course she had a lot of anger towards men in general, though. She had a lot of stuff that went with her dad, I think, that it came down to, because I knew she had a lot of issues with her pops, because he ended up leaving the family, and a lot of the financial burden came down on her, even though she wasn't really making a ton of money. She's doing better than anybody else in the family at the time. So it was kind of, a lot of that fell on her.
Yeah.
Of keeping things afloat for them as well.
Yeah. Well, and then on top of everything else that was going on, she sued us. Remember that?
That's right.
That fun little time we had.
Oh, for the embryo storage.
Yeah. So you want to kind of elaborate on kind of just like,
Yeah, so basically she was trying to get custody of the eggs that were still in storage, and I wasn't paying any of the storage bill. I was like, they shouldn't even be there.
So these are like fertilized
These are
eggs.
fertilized eggs.
So these are babies waiting to be
storage,
born.
in frozen storage someplace, and it's about $1,000 a year to store those things. And we weren't going to have a kid together, but she was trying to get custody of those. And so, hell, they're probably reading about this in law school, about the case that was right here in Travis County, because it was really trend setting back then for the time frame, because you were trying to it was already spelled out on the contract about what was going to happen with that, which is how the judge leaned ultimately at the end, was that the embryos were to be donated to somebody who was in need. And essentially, they would be anonymous. We wouldn't know who would get them or any of that. And so essentially, she honored the spirit of the agreement, basically, which, but we went this romper room, right? This roundabout thing in court and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we literally had to go to court. We had to testify. I did not have to testify, but Egon had to testify, and she testified.
They tried to double team us with 2 lawyers and probably paying $500 an hour.
I mean,
and you could just see.
But just back up 1 second, because so when you had your in vitro with Emily, you had other fertilized eggs that you stored, that you had from then, that you could have more children with.
Right.
And actually, she did get pregnant again, right? She got pregnant with twins. And she lost those babies. And then after that, I think was like the end of it. But she came to you. I remember this. She came to you and wanted you to sign this paper from, I think it was like St. David's, where saying that you were releasing any claims to or whatever for these embryos, because they had to be moved, I think, because they were closing the whole program down over there. And so they needed to move them. And so she wanted custody control over them.
She wanted control of them, right?
Yeah. And so she just kind of, I think she kind of just said, hey, can you sign these? Like, sort of thinking maybe you would just Well, then after we kind of got to talking about it and thinking about it, we were like, no, that's not a good idea. So then that is where the fighting started, is she wanted those embryos, and we did not want her to have them because, I mean, think about it. That would mean you potentially could have other children floating around, or she could decide she wanted to have another baby. You know, she was not young. She was older than us. Right. So,
well, and actually, I think the judge brought that up in court. Well, there could be another me running around, you know, because those embryos were donated to a family. And so, and maybe if any of them, because usually lose like half once they take them out of freezing. So there were 6 or 8 of them.
So the contract said basically either, I remember it said either destroyed or donated.
In the event of divorce.
Yeah. And so thank goodness for that. Thank goodness you guys had that. I'm sure they make everybody do that. Absolutely. Because that's
they
a
don't
common
want to run
thing.
into that issue.
And so she did not get the embryos, and you know, I don't think was kind of a person that liked to lose or anything. So it didn't help the cause of the anger that she had. And
oh no, matter of fact, I remember the judge, he leans over to me and he goes, "You were married to her?"
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
And I just look at
she did come across as very unhinged
on the stand.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I told you before you went up there. I was like, look, you don't have to say anything, because she's going to hang herself, because she just sounds too crazy to be real. And so you just sit back and let her just do the work herself.
That's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she did.
Yeah, so it all worked out in that sense. But I think there was a lot of damage done. Emily got caught in a lot of crosshairs of a lot of rage from her mom. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think that I never felt like you had rage towards her. I don't know. You know, just wanted to be done with all of it. And, you know, it's unfortunate because you have this daughter that, you know, you haven't been able to have a relationship with, and, now she's a grown woman, and in her mind, she has ideas about, you and me. And, I think it's sad because I think that the ideas that she has about us and our family, our whole family, all the Stocking Boyers, I think are very much jaded by the hate that her mom had towards you. And, it was ugly. I mean, I don't have to go into all the details of all of the, just if you can imagine some of the worst case of, the fighting back and forth with the kid, and just all of it was really stressful. It was really stressful for everybody. And I'm so glad all that's over.
Well, yeah, it was over a long time ago.
That was over a long time ago. But yeah, it was very hard. But meanwhile, we were chugging along because once we hooked up, I feel like we sort of got on this path of like building a family. That's the way I felt. And I felt like you were gonna get us there. You were gonna take care of things. You were gonna, you were kind of going places. And once we figured out that you were underemployed with your job and got you got where you wanted to be. And I think really what got us going was we drank the Kool-Aid of Robert Kiyosaki.
I think so too. Yeah, it was about, being in your own business, and then trying to, build, he's a big real estate guy. And of course, he's huge on gold now. That's all he talks about is gold and silver. He has for a number of years, but he was big back then in a real estate. And so that's right. I remember Cassidy was at a dance competition, and she was going to be there. I think it was like 2 days. And so Robert Kiyosaki was in Dallas, and she was over near Dallas also, I think, nearby. And so we popped over there for the day and then went in that evening and then saw them. But we went like the whole next day to the competition. But yeah, we went to all those breakout real estate sessions, and that was very well attended. It was
That's
fun.
a really good book. And it's, if you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's a really old book. It's been out a long time now. But it's really a good depiction of being your own boss, being your own leader of your own family, being kind of, I mean, nobody's totally the leader, but I mean, not relying on a corporation to take care of you and your family. And I think when you were working for IBM and a couple of other companies that you work for, and it seemed like every 6 months there was these rollbacks or reorganizations, or and it was very
about the
stressful.
Quarterly results. Yeah, especially the publicly traded companies I worked for, they were all about the quarterly results, and then figuring out a way to, hey, if like the company I was with that we went out with all the staff people, they figured out a way to cut out a whole department,
Right.
So they took out the accounting and fulfillment, and they shifted all somewhere else and rebranded everything. And then they wanted me to move up to Secaucus, New Jersey. And I was like, oh, hell no. And so anyway.
Yeah, so we decided that we wanted to get out of the rat race, that we didn't want to be part of the rat race. We didn't want to work hard for someone else to be sitting up there getting rich. And so we drank the Kool-Aid, we drank the Kiyosaki, and you started doing, I mean, we're talking grassroots guerrilla marketing here, door-to-door hangers.
That's right.
Knocking on doors. I mean,
I wasn't knocking on doors per se, but yeah, really it was, I know just even on our own neighborhood, we figured out a cheap way to do all those flyers, and we did those, and then had the kids like going up and down the street, putting them on. I would go to a street, and then even where I was at IBM, I'd go out at lunchtime and I'd do door hangers during lunch for 30, 45 minutes.
And it literally started one client at a time.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's exactly how it started. One client at a time. And I think Jake was probably, like a year or two old. too, maybe.
And then I started doing some mass email to real estate because I actually had a coworker. I used to work at the prior company before IBM, and he had said, "Man, I'm doing real estate on the side now. Da, 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 da. I'm trying to do my own thing." And he said there was no training for tax or anything. And so that was kind of like a light bulb moment. Oh, I'm going to market to real estate agents.
Right. And that was big. We were setting up all those S corps, and that was big. Everybody was focusing on that.
That just led into that. Yes,
yeah. I remember the Realty Roundup.
That's right. When I first left IBM. Yeah, because I had said if I make my salary for 6 months in a row, I'll leave my day job. And so they kind of, because my performance, obviously, over the 2.5 years I was starting and building things, my performance on the daytime job got in the way.
Well, and I think they knew that you were numbered by then, you know. Your days, don't you think they kind of
Well, and I was coming out of the tech bus, so they were looking for people to put on the termination list. So they offered me, what was it, like 4 months pay and 6 months of health insurance. And I mean, they were rolling out the carpet, but they had to put down termination. I was like, I don't care what you put down on the floor.
Right.
At that point. So I was like, okay, I'll take that package. So that gave us some spending money to already kind of hit the ground running. And then literally a week after I left IBM was the Realty Roundup, and there were like 5,000 agents attended back then. And I was, and then I did the Robert Kiyosaki themed booth, and it was Mardi Gras, and you went out and did all this, and I think we did the whole booth and the cost of the booth, I think the whole thing was like $400 to attend that and do all that. And that's what really
met a lot of people.
I met a ton of people through that. And we raffled off a cash flow game, remember? And that got a lot of people to throw their cards in the thing. And then a bunch of people signed up for free consultations. That's what really got for that next, and it was October. So it was a great time to line up for the next tax season.
Right.
And then we just built from there.
And mind you, this is before, I mean, the internet was out, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean, it was you got mail, and that was about it.
It was 2003.
We had a phone, but they were like flip phones, I think, right?
The cell phones, the same cell phones came out in the late 90s. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like, you know, I mean, everything, we had to print out door hangers ourselves. I mean, we had to create them on the computer and then print them out and then take them out. And they were kind of cheesy, but they must have worked, because look at, I mean, some of those clients you had 25 years, some of those clients.
That's very true. Yeah, I'm still working with them today. The door hanger clients.
It's crazy. The door hanger clients.
The door hanger. I still got a couple of them.
Yeah. So you built this amazing, amazing business, and it just slowly, I mean, we really did not even do a whole lot of advertising, because once you got going, it was word of mouth. I mean, your phone just started ringing.
But I also did BNI for 3 years. Remember that too? So I would go to lunch every week and then network through that. So between all those different avenues of the marketing and everything, I mean, I put 3 to 5 years of hard marketing in besides growing the business. And then the rest, word of mouth really kind of took it over from there.
Right. And then we decided that we didn't, as part of our plan with, you know, Robert Kiyosaki and not wanting to live in the rat race, we decided that we wanted to buy the office. We didn't want to be renters, and we didn't want to throw money away. We wanted to
let's start building some real estate.
Yeah.
And who's going to be their own best tenant is yourself, right?
Right.
So
you bought the office. You bought the office over there. So wait, did we buy the office before we bought this house?
We did. That was 04.
Okay.
Right before the market started really kind of taking off after the tech bust. It was just starting to come out of it. And so, and a client came into the attorney's office. I was subletting through him, remember?
Yeah.
Henry, who ended up becoming my roommate for a number of years, for like 5, after we got the new office.
Before we had the office, you were doing Starbucks, you were doing anywhere, having meetings out in public.
And then Henry let me use his office 2 or 3 afternoons a week. He let me use it, and so that worked out pretty good.
And then we just decided, we gonna have to just bite the bullet because you really needed a place to meet, and we bought the office, and which was really smart. It was a really good investment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a leap, but
And the weird thing about that property was it came to me in a dream of having a little. When we were thinking about getting an office, I was like, it came in a dream, and it was about that street. It's just a little house with a couple of rooms, a couple offices, and like a main area, like the perfect setup we have now. And then a client of mine came in over to Henry's office and said, "Hey, this looks like it'd be a good property for you." And she goes, and I go, "Where's that?" And she goes, "It's on Koenig." And she goes, "I love that street. It's got all those little," and it was weird. It was like I saw that in a dream, and it was being gutted and totally remodeled and everything. So it was like we were able to pick out colors, and they redid all the flooring, and they put, everything was all new AC, new roof, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And so it was.
We got that place for a really good price, and it's really gone up in value. I mean, it was one of the smartest things we did on the finance front, I think. And so you've been working and paying off that office, and so now we have this great place over there, and we don't really know what we're going to do with that yet, but maybe I'll move in over there. It's a great location.
Well, yeah, Brentwood is just amazing, and
it's cute. It's a cute place. I really like it. I'm glad that
whole area has been really built up in a lot of tear downs.
Plus, it's such a good location because being central. Because we looked at places like down here. Remember, we looked at South, and then before we really decided on that place, and I'm glad that we decided on that place because it was very much better located.
Yeah, and then it was funny, the commercial developer who also had flipped that house to us and the realtor, they both became my clients.
Yeah.
One still is. It's funny, the full circle of life.
Oh, I know. I mean, Austin really is a small town. It's gotten huge in the last few years, but prior to that, it really was a small town. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, you probably experienced this a lot with people. You're talking to somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know him," and everybody is like, what, the sixth degree of separation.
Yeah, it's just for as big of a town as it is, it's got the small feel, especially when I've been here 30 plus, so since 93, so you end up hearing a lot of people and then in the industry and things like that, and
so then we had bought. We first got together, we lived in my little duplex, which was not going to work because we didn't have enough room. And we had just had a brand new baby. And we wound up finding a pretty good deal on a house. And we moved into a house.
It's a FSBO.
A FSBO.
Yeah, FSBO. For sale by owner.
Yeah,
we did. We don't know what FSBO is.
We were really fortunate in our houses, I have to say. On all of our houses. The lake house, the jury is still out on that one. But everything else, I feel like we've done a really good job. And so we've moved into the other house over there, and we were there a few years. And then that's when we realized that Jake was not developing exactly. He wasn't talking, basically. And I mean, I think he was pretty happy, pretty good baby all the way around, but he was just not talking. And long story short, he got diagnosed with autism, and the school that would have been our homeschool did not have the early childhood intervention program that he needed. And so back then they didn't have it at every campus. They only had it at maybe 3 or 4 campuses. And so they were putting him over at Kiker. And once he was at Kiker, I was like, wow, that I have to make sure that he stays there, because I loved everything about the school, the staff. I felt like it was so good for him. So, of course, then after, I think we'd only had our other house, maybe about 3 or 4 years maybe.
At that point.
And then I was like, well, I think it's time that we find our dream home. And what'd you say?
Yeah, because we got in that house in 2000. We ended up moving here in 2006. So we've had it like 5-6 years at that point.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad to know that I wasn't. But the main thing, the only reason that we moved was because we wanted him over here in that school. I did. That's the only reason why I wanted to move. So I had been driving around this neighborhood over here and really fell in love with this house. I mean, I found this house and I came home and told you, oh, I found our dream home. I found our house.
And so that's right. And it wasn't even technically on the market, but it had a lockbox and I think a sign in the yard, but it wasn't listed yet, correct?
Yeah, it had a for sale sign in the front. And actually, I actually looked at the house next door to us. That one actually, I was able to go into, and because I think I snuck over there and it was empty, and I think I went inside there and looked in that house.
Oh, and it was.
So I was looking in that house, and that one was on the market.
That's right.
And then like a week later, this house had a for sale sign on it. And I was like, oh, what? And of course, I was snooping all around here and I'd walked all around the back and
saw the
looking in the windows and everything. And just kind of felt like, okay, this is it. This is our house. We have to get this house now. And we had to jump through some hoops to get it because we didn't initially get it. And
that's right. We were not the highest bid. And it came down in the inspection where they had like a 6-page punch list of items that get fixed, and the buyer wanted, and they were like only like 10,000 over us. And that was a lot back then. That was 10,000 was probably
a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't like before where people were bidding 150, 200,000 over asking, right? So,
right.
This was 2006. So he came back and said, and we had given up on the house emotionally and everything, right? And
well, they told us that you didn't get it.
Yeah, right.
So we
exactly.
knew
we gave up on it. And then he comes back like 2-3 weeks later and says, "Will you guys take it for that same price and for the asking?" And we said, "Yeah." And so, well, I'd rather work with you. And so and so we just
it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. It totally was meant to be. So I just yeah.
So, and the house was trash. I mean, it was
like witness protection program. It had rats because they left open things that allowed rats and mice to enter, and we had to get the pest control.
I mean, there were so many scorpions in here, and they left all their stuff here.
That's
so
right. It was like a bomb went on, like they were in the witness protection program and had to leave.
Yeah. So
and it was still the Dodge Viper sitting in the garage in the Harley. Remember that after we moved?
And the pontoon boat. They had a pontoon boat
That's right.
in the
That
backyard
stayed for a couple of weeks after they moved.
It was it looked rough. I don't know where, if I somewhere probably do have some photos of this place before we have done all the work to it. But it was rough. But I could tell that this was the house. This was my house. It fit all of our needs perfectly because it had the separate office and it had just the room and the downstairs, and I could just see how pretty it would be once we
fixed it up, definitely.
So we bought this house, and meanwhile life's going along, and we are we're living autism. Autism kind of put us in this other realm of kind of focus. You're going down one way and working on one thing, and all of a sudden, your kid has autism and everything kind of shifts to that, and so for me especially it did. But meanwhile, you're killing it. You're taking care of all of us and paying for all the treatments, because back then he went to Central Texas Autism Center, and it was very expensive. It was very expensive for him to go to therapies, and back then nothing was covered by insurance. And but he did really well. He did really well at Kiker, We just had our usual kind of, we had usual autism life. I feel like you and I could make a podcast of just autism in the life,
Oh, for sure. And talking about pandas and everything.
and talk about everything autism related, like all the craziness that happened that was like autism.
We could get Steve, Adrian, and myself in here, and
so we did connect with other autism families, and that really helped us a lot. We have forged some wonderful friendships, even to this day. We're still friends, and our kids are all grown up and adults now, but autism in itself is just kind of its own little society a little bit. And because these kids are so complicated and so behaviorally not appropriate that most of us can't even take them anywhere or can go very few places. And so we kind of have to stick together to, really understand, the whole concept of raising a kid with these weird behaviors and these, I don't know, they don't fit in any little box, so to speak. They don't, even school is difficult. Everything is difficult because it's not really made for them. And so, the friendships we've made have been, amazing.
Well, and for the boys, I think that's where the camping really helped, because they could be themselves when they went on campouts. And generally, the other people in the YMCA groups that were there were pretty accommodating to everybody. And so most of the time it would be in our vicinity would be all YMCA people anyway. And so they all knew that they were special needs, but they could go ride their bikes at these state parks that we would go to, like, during the school year. And we do 7-8 campouts a season, per school year. And we did that for 10 years.
I sat down with Steve last week and we talked a lot about the camping and stuff and how beneficial it was for everybody and how great it was. And he counted the number of campouts, and it was amazing. You guys did a good job of keeping that friendship and building that friendship, and then, letting the boys have that outdoor free time and just dad time.
Yeah, and so they would hang out. And then we also had neurotypical families that were part of our immediate group, but also the YMCA. But, Jake was a wanderer. He'd always, especially when he saw like Shelby and some of the other neurotypical going from different campsites, they would see them going to other YMCA campsites and talking to people and things. Jake wanted to do that too. He had always had that social nature about him where he was social. And then he thought, oh, that's what I do. I'm going to go over to that group and I'm going to go introduce myself, and I'm going to, which is like, man, put that kid in sales, It's like, if he could get past, hey, what's your name? Ezekiel.
Right. Yeah, he always wanted to be involved in what everybody else was doing.
Absolutely.
Always. Even when he was in school, I can remember he always was.
But I noticed that on the campouts, he would go and stand there sometimes, and he wanted to say hi or introduce himself or whatever, but he'd be uncomfortable doing it, but I would not go in, and I would just kind of observe, But he was doing that at a young age already when he was like probably in his early teens.
Right.
He would do that, and he got that start on the campouts. So it was pretty interesting to see watch that. But he did that through observation of seeing what like a Shelby was doing, or Hayden Smith, when they would go on some of the campouts, and Marco, correct, and the Willoughbys, the Willoughby boys, they were all, and they were very embracing of the autism. They were so cool, so
that's what was so great about it is the parents and the kids all were very accepting. The kids didn't care. They, the neurotypical kids, they didn't care, that the autism kids were there. So, yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. And so life was going along pretty good. And then we bought the lake house because we just kind of felt like it was we decided we do love lake life. I mean, I do. We love lake life, and we decided that it would be sort of a vacation that we could utilize as a family, where we didn't have to worry about the autism thing, or we could always have some place to go and take Jake and give him a break, give me a break.
Definitely.
And so that was kind of what we did for a number of years. Is you would take him on the weekends, go to the lake house and hang out and do lake house things, and ride a jet ski.
And that was kind of a continuation after the why of not doing those campouts. It kind of was an extension of that, because, then taking the boys golfing and, doing stuff, and the boats, and, before we got a boat, we, had the jet skis, and then would also sometimes rent boats too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
it was really good. And I think we wanted to raise Jake I always wanted Jake to have exposure to an active lifestyle. And so we always tried to really just let him do pretty much everything. And he's very much a daredevil. So he's not really afraid to do anything at all. And so, we still have the lake house. We love the lake house. I think we're getting to the point now where we're sort of downsizing life a little bit, but so we're still kind of deciding what we're going to do with that lake house. But we might be renting it out if anyone knows anyone who might be interested in North Shore, Lake Travis. We have a beautiful lake house. It is a really pretty house. It's very rustic up on a hill, and you can see the lake, and it's very, very nice. You definitely feel like you're on vacation.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to work out there even though I'm set up to work out there remotely, it's hard to
I think
focus.
you want to retire out there. I think that you will.
I like Jonestown, and I love the fact how close it is to everything. Like, because Lago's another 20-25 minutes, to get to Point Venture and be down at that part of the lake. It's quite a ways, and so you're that much closer, and you're still on Lake Travis. It's actually faster to get there by boat. And so anyway, but you're close enough to Austin, and Cedar Park's got everything you can imagine.
Yeah, I like Jonestown too, and I like Lago. I think Lago's a very cute little town and everything. And the thing that I don't like is the traffic and the drive in from there, because there's only really one way in and one way out at this point, and it's literally there's accidents on that road daily. Like every day, I'm like, people are like, how's 1431? Is it open? Is it, because literally there's like accident, and when there's an accident, it shuts down that whole road. And so, and plus too, it just seems very dangerous. It's very windy. It's pretty. Mm-hmm. It's pretty drive. I like driving it. It just scares me like at night. And I'm getting to be an old granny. So
it's only that 2 mile stretch you have coming out of Cedar Park, but it is treacherous, that 2 miles or so, 2 or 3 miles. It's not very long to get from Cedar Park to Jonestown, but it is a pretty hairy stretch, and it's even horrible when it's like ice and stuff. You're not going anywhere, all those hills.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
I love the fact that we could go to the Lucky Rabbit and walk home from a bar.
You can just stumble
home after seeing live music and drinking at several bars and restaurants there, and you're like, you just walk home.
I kind of debated, because we did live out there for like a summer because we were doing renovations on something here, and so we did stay out there. And
COVID summer.
Yes.
Was COVID summer.
And I don't know. I never felt the feeling of home there, even though there's things that I do like about it, but there's also a lot of things that I don't like about it. And mainly, I would miss my friends and my little circle of people. I mean, Liz lives on my street, and, when would I see my people? I would have to make new friends, and I'm kind of getting
So you got Larissa all the way up there, up north.
I know, but
Yeah.
she's even still would be far from there, you know.
40, yeah, what an
But
hour.
anyway, I don't know. We're still kind of trying to decide. We're sort of newly empty nesters, so we're not really. We don't know what we're going to do yet.
That's true.
So I feel like I want to talk about sort of the next chapter of our life, which was, I feel like Pandas and Pans was our next chapter of our life. But I feel like that we sort of need to make this a two-parter.
Absolutely.
Because it's kind of long, and
It
I
is
don't
long.
want, this is a lot of talking for you.
I know that's the most I've said in probably a week.
I know. This is the most I've seen of you in like a month. But yeah, I think we should do a part 2, and we'll go into some more details about, some of the things that we've been dealing with over the last 10 years.
That's
I think we pretty much covered the first 10 years.
I think so.
So what would you rate the first 10 years with me on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, I put it at a 10. A 12.
Mm-hmm. That was the first 10 years. The last 10 years might be a lot less score, so we'll have to, like Steve said,
Average it.
average it together, and that's what you get. So, okay, well, I think we're going to end it right here, and stay tuned because we are going to have a part 2 of Kim and Egon, our life story together, and I hope you will tune back in and hear what happens. And thanks, honey.
Sure, no problem. Anytime. Love you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
All right, MFers. Clearly, we underestimated how much content 2 people can accumulate when they've built a whole life together. Apparently, Egon and I do not know how to tell a short story. So if you're sitting there thinking, wait, what about this? Don't worry. We're not done yet. Not even close. Part 2 is coming, so stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you back here next week to finish the saga. Love you. Mean it.